Hi, welcome back to the Dave Palmer Show. And with me in this episode, I have someone who helps people to unlock their true potential and level up. He shares with you the skills, tools, and practices, principles, and motivation, as well as a fundamental ingredient in transforming you from who you are right now into who you choose to be. Bob Galletta, welcome to the Dave Palmer Show.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very, very excited and very happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Dave.
Pleasure to have you too, Bob. Pleasure to have you too. And yeah, you have a very interesting story to tell in your life before you go into what you're doing now. I mean, I know you're like me, you have a podcast, you're getting into coaching, probably more than me
Mhm.
actually, but doing a bit of marketing and stuff like that. So it's all relative.
Absolutely.
But yeah, certainly you've got a story to tell. I'd love to find out, your background because obviously growing up as a child, it wasn't going that direction, I think. Could you let me know more about that? Because I don't want to guess.
Yeah, sure, sure. I don't want to take up the entire show. I was
No.
born on a cold, snowy December day.
All right.
Um,
Which you don't
but
remember, obviously.
obviously, uh, yeah. So just a couple of brief highlights. I was born in New York City. I was born into, we don't get to choose our family, and I was born
Yeah.
into a family that was very heavily involved in organized crime.
Wow.
And I think that the best opening line of any book ever written is that life is difficult, right? The road less
Yeah.
traveled. The very
Yes.
first sentence says life is difficult, and I think regardless of where you come from, that you have to face adversity and obstacles and things that as life throws at you, you have to learn to deal with.
Yeah.
And given the best of circumstances, life is still difficult.
Yeah.
And I do believe that the tools that I was given growing up weren't exactly the best. I had a different toolbox with different set of tools in it than
Yeah.
than most people. So I kind of had to learn at an early age to overcome adversity and overcome some obstacles because I was being groomed for a life of
Yeah.
crime and really what people would consider a really, really bad life.
Yeah. No, I mean, I probably grew up in a similar kind of community to yours, but obviously in London, where now it's near London Bridge, but at the time it was sort of, run down warehouses. So the working class and poor were still there when I was housed there with my parents who were immigrants from the Caribbean and
Hmm.
Mauritius. So it's similar to Brooklyn. I mean, I've got family in Brooklyn and they came from the Caribbean, and I've got cousins that born in Brooklyn. So similar kind
I
of.
was actually born in Queens, but it's
All right,
just
I
it's
stayed in
just on
Queens
the
as well.
border.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I
yeah,
know Queens. I know Queens. Jamaica Avenue, Lefferts
nice.
Boulevard. Yeah. So
Yes,
I
yes.
know the community, and the thing about my family
That's
is that I
awesome.
I wasn't in that kind of family that had that, but there was a life of crime you could have if you got mixed in with the wrong crime around my community, if you see what I mean. So
Yes.
so I could have almost gone down that road, but obviously I sort of went a different avenue. But let's get more into yours because obviously you chose in the end to get to where you are now, and you know
Well, what happened was, when I was growing up, I wanted to impress my family. I wanted to be accepted. I think that we all have this level of love and acceptance that we want, especially from our parents and the people that are
yeah.
closest to us in our family.
Yep.
And so I wanted to impress them. I wanted to do what I was asked. And I
Yeah.
wanted to, it's funny because as I was growing up, I was being asked to do things that most children are not asked to do. For example, when I was a kid, we used to go visit my uncle, and
Yeah.
he was in a federal penitentiary in Danbury.
Right.
And my job it was this really long driveway. Right. When you get
Right.
off the main road to get to the prison, there was a really long, windy driveway. And my job was the back door of the car would open and I would jump out and
Ah,
run
okay.
and
Yeah.
stash things near the prison yard while the car never stopped so that I could run back and dive back into the back seat.
Oh, right.
And
Okay.
when I would do that, successfully, I would
Yeah.
feel so much joy and so much pride because I was doing my part and I felt
Yeah.
so happy because now everybody was going to, be happy with me and ultimately give me what I wanted, which was that, complete and unconditional love and acceptance. And it wasn't until I was decades later that I had that realization that my whole life I thought that I knew what love was, and come to find out that all of the important people in my life treated love as a transaction. And man, did that screw me up. And I didn't have that realization until I was 48 years old, Dave.
Wow, yeah. Well, still a good age to make some transformation in your life. But when you say life as love as a transaction, I mean, probably me, I'm probably guilty of it being a youngster and flirting around girls and the wrong girls. You don't mean that kind of transaction where it's kind of like
No,
money for
no, no,
love and
no,
that.
no, not at all.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
What I mean is, like, on those days when we would go visit my uncle,
yeah, yeah.
my job was to go deliver those packages. So
Yep.
if I did perform that act, then
Yeah, yeah,
everybody
yeah.
loved me.
Right,
So,
I'm with you. Yeah, yeah,
that's what I meant in terms
yeah,
of
yeah.
trans.
It.
I'll do these things that will make you happy and proud,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then that will give me this little air quotes around love that I'm going to receive. Because at the end of the day, all I want is to be truly loved and accepted, and I think that that is the basis of what every human being wants.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. But it's almost like you're just being used, as a youngster then to sort of go and,
That
do
is
something. It's like, we
absolutely
don't really
correct.
like it, but if you do this, we will, that kind of thing, really,
Yeah, right.
When you,
But you don't know that when like, listen, normal is a setting on a dryer.
yeah,
And what's normal for me is normal for me. And but you don't know what that is, because whatever's happening in your day-to-day life each and every day, especially the years where you're developing, that's just normal. That's the way it is, right?
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. And I was going to say, yeah, it wouldn't be until you get older that you realize, hey, that happened to me. And I feel really now I'm feeling like resentment or whatever. I don't know. How did you feel then when you got older and realized?
So while I was in this life, and there was a very important thing that happened when I was young as well. For whatever, my father had gotten into some trouble with, again, the mob, and we needed to leave New York City, and we went down south. My mother had some family down south in the United States here, and we went down there, and my father like created this organized crime ring of his own. And um and, and we lived a very different life than a lot of the people there because of that. And I idolized my father. I thought, man, this is great. My brother and I would go out and wander around town and bounce into restaurants and places, and we didn't need money for anything, because we were the children of. And it was a phenomenal feeling, and I loved it, and I wanted more of it. I idolized my father.
Mm.
And a couple of days before Christmas and my 10th birthday, my father murdered my mother.
Oh,
And
well, now that's a
because
serious.
yeah so I had to learn in a very young age how to deal with that loss, that void in my life. I was very upset and I was very angry. So it was very easy for me to uh turn to my family for this extra love and support. And I didn't know it at the time, but they just used it even more so to manipulate me into being a good soldier, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I was very good at my job because, again, I wanted to receive that love and adoration. So I did what was asked of me. But here's the thing: at night, without any external stimuli, what I call the quiet place, which is when we are alone with our head on the
Yeah.
pillow,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's nothing that you hear except that voice in your head. And the one that I was hearing was telling me that you're not a good person. You're not this, you're not that. You don't have value, and you have no worth. And I hated myself. I absolutely hated myself because there was nothing that I could do that was going to change that. And it wasn't and I struggled for many years with my own identity, and the pain and suffering that I felt. I would turn into anger and rage, and I would use that as a weapon. I was a very violent person when I was young, and again, that was a great tool to have in the environment that I was living in. So I used that to my advantage, and I was a very good little soldier, but I really hated who I was.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I could sort of see that. It's not really hating who you was. Maybe it's hating the place you was in at the time. Maybe.
Well, yeah, and I say that because now I don't feel that way.
Right.
But at that time, I didn't know the difference. I carried this tremendous guilt because prior to my mother dying, my parents had this fight and argument and whatever. And, the entire police force was there. And my dad was on his knees, and he had one arm around me And he had one arm around my brother. It's pitch black out. All you see is the red and blue lights flashing. And there's a lot of anxiety. And my mother was standing by the car and she was crying. And she just kept saying, I want to take my kids and I'm leaving. We happened to be at my father's girlfriend's house when all that took place.
Right, I see. So he wasn't with your mother at the time. So they obviously had an argument.
They had an argument and she was asking to take us and leave.
Yeah.
And I told my mother, I said, I don't want to be with you. I want to stay with my father.
I see.
And my father said to me, go with mommy and stay with her. And I will see you soon. So I agreed only because my father had asked me. So we went back that night and my mom was, very upset and she was on the phone a lot and she was, going through this emotional crisis. And I was 9 years old. I couldn't offer any assistance and I was pissed off to begin with. And I didn't know why they were fighting. And I had all this garbage going on in my head. And then my mother said, I'm going to run out to the store and get cigarettes. I'll see you soon. And she left and she never came back.
Wow.
And like I said, that was a couple of days shy of my 10th birthday. And for 15 years, I carried the guilt and shame of the last words that I said to my mother, where I don't want to be with you.
Yeah.
And it was only through a lot of therapy that I was able to piece together that the night that they had the argument when I said that to her and the night that she died were actually 2 months apart. And I had lived with her for that whole 2 months. And I'm sharing this story to show the power of the mind, because in my mind, I blocked out that entire 2 months that her and I spent together to feed the bullshit story. Of
no, that's all right.
that the last thing I said to my mother was that I don't want to be with you. And I carried all that guilt and all that shame and I turned it into rage and anger. And it totally consumed who I was being all the time.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean that's quite some point in your life there. I mean that's obviously a pivotal point of your life. Where obviously things have turned around now, and obviously you're on a journey now of obviously doing the complete opposite. In fact, helping other people. So where was you? I mean, obviously, let's fast forward a little bit. You've obviously had this happen in your life, and now you're living with your father, or throughout your teens.
Are you talking about today?
No. You're talking about when he was 9 years old. All this happened now. Obviously, let's fast forward to your teens and to leaving school.
Yeah. So my teens, all of this, lots of therapy, lots of coping mechanisms, lots of trying to find listen, adolescence is difficult to begin with, right?
Yeah, I mean, even a hormonal change.
That's right. That's right. And then you throw in all this extra stuff and, I was just a mess. And like I said, but I used it to my advantage because I was serving the family. And I was very efficient at what I was asked to do all the time. But again, I didn't like who I was being. So I at a very young age, when your father murders your mother, they kind of throw you in therapy very young. And I hated it then, but I'm a huge advocate. This is May. It's mental health awareness. Yeah. And I am a pole flag carrying advocate for everyone should go to therapy because the benefits are unbelievable. And as I told you, it was for 15 years before I realized that I spent that 2 months with my mom. And that was only through the therapy that I went through. So I go through all this time. I'm trying to find myself. I get involved in a lot of self-awareness, a lot of self-development, and at a very young age. And it's one of the things that laid the groundwork, that laid the foundation for who I am today and why I'm here today. And just to kind of fast forward a little bit, left the house when I was young, was able to escape the war zone that was my neighborhood and my environment and my family. I joined the service and
military, you mean?
What's that?
You mean service as in the military?
Yes, sir. I was in the United States Navy for 5 years and, sailed the world and got to see
that's a good experience.
Yeah, absolutely. The very first place I stopped was in London.
Oh, wow.
Southampton.
Thanks for coming.
I think that Southampton is where it was.
Southampton. Yeah. So it's not far. It's not far from London.
Not far from London.
Yeah, right. It's like saying going to Jersey or New Jersey like that.
Right. So, Yeah, joined the military, got out of the military. That's a whole nother story, which we don't have time for.
No, yeah.
Got married, had a child, and that didn't work out. Got married again, had a few more kids. And at some point, I realized I needed to be different. I was doing well. I got out of the military. I started working on Wall Street. Again, I didn't know it at the time, but I started working at a very famous brokerage firm. It's where I met my second wife. It was Stratton Oakmont. Everybody knows Stratton Oakmont now because of Jordan Belfort and the Wolf of Wall Street movie. I got trained on how to speak and how to sell by one of the greatest speakers and sellers that there are.
Yeah, things fell into place after. I mean, apart from maybe the relationship issues, but the relationship's another area
we could talk about that for months.
Exactly. So let's just talk about you fell in the right place with the jobs, because I mean, I did as well. I'm glad I took up sports, which kind of helped me at school and got through the bullying. It's more I wasn't really violent, but so similar kind of thing. But I was a firefighter for 25 years and it was a dream job for me anyway. And, people were in the military. My dad was in the military for Mauritius, but it was a British military then. So I was around all that and, I liked it. But yeah, I mean, falling in a job like that and then ending up in Wall Street, that gave you a good standing. You could have gone the other way, couldn't you? And
yeah, no, absolutely. But what was funny is, so I was trying to leave this life of crime behind. That's one of the reasons why I joined the military, and still turned it into my own little organized crime ring, which is again deeper story. And then I get out of the military, and I'm gonna go legit and be 100% legal. And come to find out that the place I started out, Stratton Oakmont, is one of the most illegal brokerage firms on planet Earth.
Oh, really? All right, so that's what
you're not familiar with who Jordan Belfort is.
Not too much, no.
Okay, so they made a movie. Leonardo DiCaprio was the star. It's all about Jordan and the rise and fall of Stratton Oakmont.
Right.
And that was a roller coaster ride of craziness. I made my first $1 million by the time I was 25.
Oh, wow.
As I said, I met my second wife there. We actually started working there on the same day and, quickly fell in love. And I had everything I thought. I thought I had it all legit finally, right? And then I find out that the place I'm working at is horrible. It's illegal. It's immoral. It's every kind of negative thing. And then I come to find out there's more crooks on Wall Street than there are in the mob. So there again was this identity crisis that I was suffering through, and this trouble of, how am I going to get out of this? How am I going to be different? Because I had done so many different things. I was in the mob. I was in the military. I was working on Wall Street. And at the end of the day, again, in the quiet place with my head on the pillow, I still heard the voice telling me that I'm not good enough for this. I'm not doing this right. I don't make enough. I'm not a good husband. I'm not a good father. At the end of the day, all I heard was, I'm not enough.
Right. Yeah.
And it drove me down this rabbit hole of self-medication. I used drugs. I used alcohol. I learned at an early age I could use violence. I was addicted to everything in the world: gambling, violence, drugs. And I learned that at an early age that I could do something externally that would change how I felt internally. And as I said, the first thing I used was violence, and then after that it was alcohol and sex and drugs and money and all of these things. And I was constantly, though, not liking who I was being. And I say this, I focus so much today on who you be. And I know it's a grammatically incorrect statement, but it is the essence of how I transform my life and what I teach to my coaching students. It is, I am all about who do you choose to be? Because again, we want to change that voice in our heads that tells us you are not fill in the blank. At the end of the day, it comes down to you are not some version of enough. And my mission in life is to help people to be authentically themselves and to feel the joy from truly loving who you be. And I did that one day. Of all the many things that had happened in my life, There wasn't something on this particular day that happened, there wasn't, it's not like I went to jail or had a near-death experience. I had all of those things, but none of those were significant enough to make me stop and realize that I needed to be somebody different. And one day I was sitting in my driveway, nothing happened, and I said, I have to be different. And it was in that moment I had this aha moment where I said, I don't know how I'm going to do it, because all I know is what I know. And what I know got me to where I was at, and I didn't like who I was.
So that's your epiphany then, breaking in.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The
I had
turning
this
point.
epiphany.
Yeah.
So what I did was I said, okay, I'm just going to be open to the idea of what's possible. And I'm going to allow the universe to pour into me to help me find a solution to all of my problems. And when I got down to it, I only had one problem, and that was me. My problem was I didn't love who I was.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter if I had money or was broke. It didn't matter if I was married or single, or if I was being a good dad or a bad dad. It only mattered who I was being to myself. And so I decided that day I was going to make a change, and I was going to start my own, what I now call fundamental transformation.
Right. Okay. So taking us from that journey, because there's so many things you could come back on the show and talk about, like I say, relationship, talk about lots of things, we spoke about. It could go in a tangent, but we want to really stick to now the journey of where that epiphany happened to where you're at now and how you're helping people now. Tell us about that journey.
Absolutely. So as I said, I had this epiphany, I had this aha moment, and I said I wanted to be different. So I didn't know what I didn't know, but I knew that if I was open to the idea of what's possible, that I could transform my life. Now, to me, I say transform because I think a transformation is so much more significant than a change. If you think about a caterpillar goes through a transformation. It goes into a chrysalis, and at the cellular level, it is transformed into a butterfly. And the funny thing about that transformation is, while it's in that chrysalis, it's totally, it has no protection whatsoever except the chrysalis.
Right. Oh yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
Chrysalis, that's right.
It's
Anyone can come and kind of like whack it out of the way, stamp on it, whatever.
It is at its most vulnerable time of its life.
Right.
But what happens is, when it comes out on the other side, it's a beautiful butterfly. It has been transformed at the cellular level into a new thing. If you take the wings off a butterfly, it doesn't turn back into a caterpillar. It's just a messed up butterfly. So this idea for me, because I had changed so many times before, this new idea was that I needed to be transformed. So I made a decision in that moment that I was going to be different. And I imagined what I wanted to be. If I took away my mother and my father, if I took away my struggles with alcohol or drugs or the law, if I took away the organized crime family, if I took away the beatings, if I took away the sexual abuse, if I took away all of the bad, and I even took away all of my successes in a vacuum, if I could just flip a switch and then tomorrow create what I now call Best Bob, a different version of me, what would that look like? What would it feel like? Who would be in my life? When I close my eyes and I envision what my life is going to be as Best Bob, who is standing next to me? What do those people feel by being around me? What do I feel by being around them and by being who I am? So I made that decision. I created that image, and then I started to act congruent with that decision. And some things worked and some things didn't. But each and every day I woke up and I made a conscious choice to reaffirm that decision and to live congruent with the decision I made. And that's what I call the diary system. It's the diary system stands for decide, imagine, act, review, and you choose. Because you must choose. Some of us have to choose every minute to stay congruent with who we choose to be. And for some of us, we don't have to focus on it every minute, but maybe every hour. But each and every day, you still have the power of choice. So I created, by going through this diary system. It was a diary system is the fundamental transformation that I went through. And it is now what I teach my coaching students.
Right. Okay. Did you go through any kind of like program or anything to do this, or did you do this by yourself? Did you just kind of like self-teach yourself, or?
I have spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on therapy, on self-development, self-improvement, motivational courses and seminars and workshops. I'm a huge fan of Brendan Burchard. I consider myself a Brendanite. I've read all of his books. I've been to his High Performance Academy. I'm signed up for most of his courses, unless his mastermind group, which he no longer has. I've been involved in self-awareness courses like EST and the Forum. And I've spent all of this time researching. I consume self-development, self-improvement, and motivational books and content. And I take all of that time and all of those hours and all of that money, and I condense it into my coaching program. And that is how I am now able to help people to transform where they are into who they choose to be.
Yeah. And the best thing is that you've got the experience, the experiential stuff of coming from, going through the adversity and people like that. And also it's more of a mentor as well. So you can actually talk to people almost going down through what you went through and saying, yeah, you know what, this is what I can see. And this is how now I know the path for you if you want to take that path, that kind of thing. As you say, to choose
if you
to have
look at like a 12-step group for anything.
Yeah, that's right.
The power of them, the reason why they are more successful at helping alcoholics to recover from alcoholism, as opposed to a doctor treating you for alcoholism, is because the people that are helping you, guiding you, mentoring you, they know what it feels like to be you. Yeah. They have been in the situations that you have been in, and they have worked themselves out of it. And there's a tremendous value in each one teach one, right? I believe if you've gone through something, then you have the ability, which creates the responsibility for you to reach back and grab someone by the hand and help pull them through it and get to the other side where you are.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's certainly a lot to be said about that, that side. So right now, what is it that you teach? I mean, we're going to talk about your podcast before we get everyone to sort of point towards your podcasting website and everything that you do. What is it that you do teach now with all the program you've developed?
Yeah, so I have several different courses, and but the essence of what I do is that I help people to unlock their true potential. I believe that each and every one of us has so much more potential than we are currently living at. And, I've been a coach in one form or another for most of my life, whether it be, I've raised 5 children and I coached them in baseball and football and soccer and was able to teach these young children, mine, of course, and then many, many others. I've always been referred to as Coach Bob because I've been able to teach these people how to unlock their true potential. And what I used to tell the parents was, your children are capable of more than you know. And if you just give me a little bit of latitude and stand back for a moment, then they will surprise themselves and you. And it's amazing. I love when somebody finds their switch, where they find the light switch that turns on the light of their true potential, and they start to shine like the star that they can be. That lights me up, and it enables me to shine bright and to encourage others to do the same thing.
Yeah, well, that's great. Yeah. So how can people find your program, and what does it? Just tell people about your program and how
couple of things. First and foremost, I have a podcast where I talk about many of these subjects. It's called Beyond Our Boundaries, and you can find it on pretty much any platform that podcasts are available.
Sure, yeah. I'd love to come on yours and tell my story. not as exciting as yours, but it's similar kind of getting through adversity. So,
listen, I'm all about overcoming obstacles and getting through adversity. The other way to get a hold of me, you can go to bobgalletta.com. And if you want to book a call with me, just go to bobgalletta.com/call, and you can get on my calendar and we can have a discovery session and decide if I'm somebody that you want to have work with you. And then the other thing is, are you on Clubhouse yet, Dave?
No, the thing is that I'm going to get on it soon because I know they're going on Android, but I'm my wife's has got the iPhone, and for some reason she's not letting me use it when I need to for Clubhouse.
You don't need it anymore, Dave. They, as of last Sunday, they just opened it up to our Android users.
So that's what I'm going to get on Clubhouse as soon as possible. Then,
yeah.
I know Facebook's trying to do something. I don't know if it will really, Clubhouse has now become a brand in itself, and
it really has become an amazing place. I have a room on Clubhouse that I've been running for about 4 months. It's called Inspiration, Authenticity, and Joy. We meet every day, Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. New York time. So I always tell people to kind of adjust according to where they may be at, geographically speaking. But that's a tremendous, the app is unbelievable. It's mind-blowing. And I have made so many connections with so many truly authentic people. The room that I moderate, that room that I just described, Inspiration, Authenticity, and Joy, is it's a unique room. People come in there, and we drive down each and every day into the different aspects of our personality and character. We shine some light on them. We kind of polish them up. I believe people are like diamonds, that just like a diamond, we have many faces, different aspects of our personality and character. And each day in that room, we talk about different aspects. And we drive down, we shine some light on them, and we try to get them to help people to overcome the obstacles that they face regarding that particular topic on that particular day. And it's just been an amazing, amazing arena where people have felt that they can expose their vulnerability, where they've come for help, where they come to share their insight, or that they come to receive. And if you want to reach out to me, that is an excellent way to do it. You can find me on Clubhouse at Bobby Mush, BOBBYMUSH. You can follow me there. And I also have a club called Beyond Our Boundaries on Clubhouse. You can follow that as well.
Wow, well, it is really certainly becoming the go-to place at the moment. So many good things happening in that app. So, I'm going once it's on Android, which now you said it is. I'm certainly going to be joining the club myself. So I've got to do a few things myself there, but obviously you're ahead of the game there. So yeah. Well, anyway, you're also truly a podcaster in the same sense that I'm doing podcasting. How long have you had your podcast for now?
Just over a year.
Oh,
actually,
right. Okay.
Not even a year. What am I saying? My first 3 episodes dropped on June 5th last year.
All right. But the thing is that I started mine about 3 years ago, but I only did 8 episodes the first year. And then I kind of had this malware on my website, and then I had to stop it. Then I relaunched it again. And then I was only doing about 1 episode of maybe a week or a month. I can't remember now. And then all of a sudden, since the pandemic, it just grew. I mean, podcasts just grew in general. That's how Clubhouse has probably done so well, because nobody's going to go into rooms, and only a few people can watch the videos on YouTube when you've got everyone in the house on lockdown. So of course, audio is becoming a good thing as well. In fact, just as popular as Netflix. So
that's right.
I think Clubhouse is becoming a brand, almost going to be as big name as YouTube and Netflix.
Listen, if they take that company public, if they
I'm sure they will.
If that's an offering, it's going to be billions.
Yeah. So that's great. So you really started podcasting at the time when the boom really hit, because it was a pandemic that did it really.
I hired a coach. I believe strongly in coaching. I've hired many coaches in my life for many different reasons, but I hired a coach specifically to teach me how to create the podcast and launch it. All of the technical stuff that goes into it. There's an excellent room on Clubhouse. They meet every morning at 6:30, again, East US time. And they talk about, it's all about podcasting, and it's all about some of the things that you need to do. And it's called Real Talk Podcast. So check it out. RTP, Real Talk Podcasting. There's some phenomenal people in there. And you can get, if you've ever thought about starting a podcast, join Clubhouse. And then go to this room every morning, and you can learn from somebody else's mistakes how to save yourself some anxiety. I don't know about you, Dave, but in closing, I'll say all I ever really wanted in life, the puzzle books where it has a big circle with all the squiggly lines, and you got to enter here and come out here.
Yep.
All I ever wanted in my life was somebody to say, instead of me going in the maze and going round and round and hitting a brick wall and having to start over, I wish somebody would have taken me before I entered the entrance
And said, here's the route.
Take my hand.
Yeah.
Because I know the way.
Yes.
And I can
exactly.
help.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that I am dedicated my life to today, is to let people know that I know the way and I can help because of all of the struggles, all of the adversity. I am very, very lucky to A, be alive, B, not be spending the rest of my life in prison. I know what it feels like to battle with addiction. I know what it feels like to have to overcome grief, loss, and suffering. And I also know what it feels like to truly love who you be, because I have tapped into my true potential. And I would love to save people the pain and suffering of having to figure it out. So that's what I offer to my coaching students, especially, but to anybody that I speak to.
Excellent, excellent, Bob. Well, you're a real good, true example of becoming the first in. As I say, that's the main theme of my my podcast. You know, it's more in the self-improvement area. You know, although I do cover other topics. You know, entertainment. You know, I've had a few big names, but obviously it's podcasts like you that get more the hits and the views. So that's what people listen for, isn't it? It's what they want to learn from something. You know. So, and you got a website as well. Everyone goes. Can you give that website?
Sure. It's bobgalletta.com. BOBGALLETTA.com. bobgalletta.com.
Excellent, Bob. Excellent. Well, this website, if anyone's listening, is well, obviously all the listeners listening. When you've finished listening and you want to refer back, it will be on the show notes as well. So just go to show notes anytime you want to refer back to Bob's
you
website.
Can reach out to me on Instagram. I'm on Instagram at BobbyMush13. On Twitter at BobbyMush13. And like I said, on Clubhouse, it's at BobbyMush.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Bob, it's been a great pleasure listening to your story and talking to you on my show today. I really, truly thank you for coming on my show today and talking to my listeners.
The pleasure was mine, and I'm honored that you would consider me.